It's ridiculous in this day and age that we have children living in what's called cold homes. It is ridiculous that we have homes that are built by public bodies, funded by public money, and they end up becoming damp, or they end up becoming having black mold, which the last time that I raised the issue of fuel poverty, I pointed out that black mold is actually carcinogenic, or has been designated carcinogenic by the World Health Organization. Now, the title for this motion, Lord Mayor, relates to two small bits within the legislation covering building regulations. And I'm sure that we've all read them over Christmas to be able to find out what 42A or 43A and 43B are. But there are actually two clauses within building regulations that deal with fuel poverty and fuel and energy emissions. And what has happened is that way back in 2012 or before 2012, the European Union began to pick up on the issue about emissions and on fuel poverty, and they began to ask the member states then to put into their legislation how they were going to tackle both those problems. And we ended up with 43A and 43B. Now, if you haven't read them, I'll remind you that 43A deals that from the 1st of January 2019, all new buildings at this council had to inspect, as we have responsibility for for the implementation of building regulations, that they had to be nearly zero energy buildings. In other words, their consumption of energy, their insulation had to be the best that it was available. Now, that was for buildings then. But from the end of this year, from the 31st of December, all new buildings, all homes that the Housing Association and private developers are going to build, they will have to meet a standard which is of nearly zero energy building. Now, when I raised this with one of our staff and asked was he aware of any movement within the Department of Finance way back in October to be able to meet those obligations that we're going to be expected, this council is going to be expected to, and he said he wasn't aware of it. Now, I think since then he has actually contacted them and asked that the politicians are beginning to take an interest on whether what the Department of Finance is doing, or to be more accurate, what they're not doing in relation to preparing houses to be nearly zero energy buildings. And so I brought this motion here tonight to ask that we go to the relevant ministers with the relevant responsibilities, and we start asking the hard questions, because we have less than 10 months in order to prepare our own staff who will be expected to implement the regulation. But more so, if the Minister of Finance is of a view that the building regulations need to be updated, we should be having an input, because we have debated and discussed fuel poverty here before. We know from experience as public representatives, those families that are living in homes which are damp, it costs a fortune to heat, and we know that children are growing up, and the evidence again is there, that children who do not develop properly if they are living in a cold environment. Imagine trying to do homework. If the temperature of the room that you're trying to do your homework in, it is cold, that you can breathe and you can see the air coming out of your mouth to do it. And that is happening to some families in this city. And the regulations, I would argue, don't go far enough to be able to tackle the fuel poverty issue. And they certainly don't go far enough to tackle about emissions that are causing climate change. But we have an opportunity to get our information into the various government departments and ask, is the industry ready to start building nearly zero energy buildings? And if they're not ready, when are they going to be ready? Because people will have to be trained in order to be able to do it. We need to talk to the Department of Communities, for them to talk to the housing associations, and for the housing associations to start thinking about building warmer homes than they're already building at present. Because what those building regulations do, they talk about a higher standard They talk about homes that are nearly zero energy buildings. They will use the little energy to heat, because the way they're designed, the heat will stay within the building. Shane, who spoke to us at the start of the meeting, talked about Brussels and about European cities that have rolled out a scheme called Passive House. In Norwich, in England, a Labour council have just built and completed 106 homes which are Passive House. In Dunleera and the Republic, the council down there have just announced they're going to build 600 houses to Passive House standard. Now, I'm not arguing for Passive House, but I'm arguing for as close as to that. And the only people who can change the regulations, the only people who can enforce it, are the three government departments that I mentioned in the motion here tonight. And I'd ask for all the parties, because we've all dealt with it, we all know about it, we all know that we should be tackling fuel poverty. It is ridiculous in this day and age that we should have families enduring fuel poverty. And the way to do it is, as I've outlined in the motion, Lord Mayor, and I would ask that the committee are competent enough to deal with that tomorrow and to give instructions to the staff. Thank you.